Chapter 1. The Navigator Mindset. You understand the collision. The challenge now is to pilot through it. The path of the navigator begins by consciously designing your work, career, and value instead of waiting for the system to do it for you. The first step is naming the craft. Defining symbiotic orchestration. The craft of the navigator applies a vision established over 60 years ago, long before generative AI existed. Symbiosis between human and machine. J.C.R. Licklider articulated it in 1960 as man-computer symbiosis, or human-computer symbiosis, a tightly coupled partnership solving problems neither could alone. The phrase symbiotic orchestration shows up occasionally in academic papers, but what I'm defining here is different. A specific, learnable discipline you can use today. It reclaims what Henry Mintzberg defined as the craft of management, an experiential connection to the work that balances art, vision, and science analysis. Start with the biological power of symbiosis. A coral reef shows this clearly. Coral provides structure. Algae provide energy through photosynthesis. Together, they create an ecosystem neither could build alone. This reflects what we're building with AI, a partnership of complementary capabilities. AI provides raw computational power, synthesizing data and executing tasks at scale. You provide structure, strategic intent, contextual understanding, ethical judgment, and creative ambition. Orchestration means active composition and direction. You deconstruct a goal, then direct capabilities to produce a result greater than the sum of its parts. It demands cognitive engagement, not passive consumption. Symbiotic orchestration, then, is the disciplined practice of mastering this partnership, fusing your intent with machine execution to create value. When orchestration itself gets automated. The obvious challenge? What happens when orchestration itself becomes automated? It will. Multi-agent AI systems already delegate tasks and optimize workflows autonomously. That is mechanical orchestration. This isn't a threat to the thesis. It's a clarification. This development forces a distinction between mechanical orchestration, the how, and meta-orchestration, the why. Mechanical orchestration is a high-order cognitive task, but it remains a task, a complex problem of sequencing and resource allocation that AI will progressively master. If you define your value by this mechanical how, your role is transient. The durable human role lies in the distinction between content and intent. AI is an infinite generator of content, data, text, code, and images. But it possesses no intent. It does not care if the client goes bankrupt, if the bridge collapses, or if the email destroys a relationship. In a regulated world, accountability attaches to intent, not just content. You cannot hold an algorithm responsible for malpractice. You need a human accountability anchor. The navigator provides the oversight, the ethical and strategic protection that ensures the machine's output actually serves the human purpose. You shift from being the conductor of instruments to being the composer who defines the symphony's purpose and meaning. This capacity for humanistic orchestration, grounded in values, strategic judgment, and contextual understanding, isn't a computational problem. It is the source of intent. Eric Brynjolfsson warns against the Turing trap, the dangerous obsession with building machines that mimic humans rather than empowering them. When the goal is indistinguishability, the economic outcome is replacement. Darren Acemoglu and Simon Johnson make this plain. Technology's direction is a choice, not an inevitability. This philosophy reasserts your agency. Orchestration is the choice to be the navigator, providing the purpose, curiosity, and moral judgment that technology inherently lacks. How this differs from adjacent practices. The term orchestration appears across multiple domains, which creates potential confusion. It helps to clarify what symbiotic orchestration is, and what it is not. The distinction matters because each adjacent practice solves a different problem. Prompt engineering is the craft of designing effective instructions for AI systems. A skilled prompt engineer knows how to structure requests to get reliable outputs. This is essential tactical knowledge, but it focuses on the interaction itself. It asks, how do I get the AI to produce what I want right now? Symbiotic orchestration includes prompt engineering as a component, but it operates at a higher level. It asks how you architect a new way of working, systematically redesigning the workflow so human judgment and machine execution combine to create better outcomes. Workflow automation is the practice of using software to eliminate repetitive tasks. You can automate data transfers or trigger actions based on conditions. This is powerful for removing drudgery, but it typically operates within existing structures. It asks how to make the current process faster. Symbiotic orchestration questions the structure itself. It asks if the process should exist at all in its current form. Automation optimizes the existing workflow. Orchestration redesigns the workflow to amplify human capability. AI-assisted work is a broad category describing any ad hoc use of AI tools to support tasks. This is valuable, but it often remains opportunistic. You use AI when you remember to or when a tool happens to be available. Symbiotic orchestration is deliberate. It starts with a comprehensive audit of your work to identify every task that could benefit from AI partnership, applies rigorous criteria to determine what should remain human-led, and treats the new workflow as an experiment requiring validation. The distinction is one of scope and discipline. It is the difference between knowing how to use a hammer and knowing how to build a house. If you can write a good prompt, you possess a useful tool. If you can orchestrate a workflow where AI handles execution while you provide judgment, you possess a durable capability. The mindset shift from user to orchestrator. When Licklider first envisioned Symbiosis in 1960, he identified time-sharing as the technical prerequisite. Computers were too scarce and expensive for a single person to monopolize. Today, that dynamic has inverted. Compute is abundant and cheap. The bottleneck is no longer machine availability, but human orchestration capability. The orchestrator mindset descends from Douglas Engelbart's intelligence augmentation philosophy. Engelbart argued that true augmentation required co-evolving four elements simultaneously: the human, the artifact, the tool, the language, how work is deconstructed, and the methodology, the process. The D.I.S.T framework is a practical implementation of Engelbart's vision. The AI partner is the artifact, the dissolve and isolate steps create the language, the synthesize and titrate steps form the methodology, and the adaptive expert is the human that emerges from the practice. For decades, enterprise technology trained us to be users, passive, reactive, waiting for IT deployment, and training on which buttons to click. Technology was a fixed tool within a predefined process. Classic CRM platforms exemplified this, forcing standardized data entry for management legibility, discouraging creativity. Confronted with AI, the user sees a smarter search or help function. They engage with single-shot commands, write a 3-paragraph email, and receive generic results. Frustrated by mediocre output, they revert to old methods. Ethan Mollick's co-intelligence provides the essential tactical foundation for this shift. His principles, inviting AI to the table, treating it like a coworker, establish the necessary relationship. But where co-intelligence teaches you how to interact with the bot, symbiotic orchestration teaches you how to redesign the work. It moves from interaction to architecture. The orchestrator mindset is active, proactive, and creative. You use technology as an ensemble of capabilities to create value. This human-centric mindset is distinct from the technical term AI orchestration, which describes automated agent coordination. Our focus is the indispensable human role preceding and guiding automation, the mindset bringing purpose and judgment. Generative AI functions as a partner amplifying thought, a dynamic Reid Hoffman demonstrated by co-authoring a book with GPT-4. Yet, while we call this orchestration, the image that word usually evokes is misleading. The symphony conductor metaphor is common, but another may work better for today's interaction. Its implication of rigid, top-down control misses the reality. Management theorist Henry Mintzberg critiqued the manager as conductor image as a myth of absolute control, a fantasy where the leader stands on a podium and subordinates respond in perfect unison. That model produces resistance, not harmony, especially when the musicians may possess more information than the maestro. A better model, the jazz leader. True symbiotic orchestration resembles jazz improvisation. You set a theme, then guide a dynamic partnership to discover solutions through interactive dialogue. Harvard research validated this, identifying a successful cyborg model defined by completely integrating their task flow with the AI and continually interacting with the technology. You guide the AI tools not by controlling every specific step, but by directing the interaction between your intent and the machine's capability. This distinction is fundamental. Some thinkers, like Hoffman and Beato, describe AI-amplified human potential as superagency, a useful, optimistic concept for what we gain. Symbiotic orchestration is the how. It is the specific, repeatable craft you practice to achieve that state. Superagency is the destination. Orchestration is the navigation. Consider two approaches to the same task. Create a launch plan for Job Dissolver, an app that breaks down job roles into AI-ready tasks and human responsibilities. User approach: single prompt, generic response, no iteration. Result: a plausible but shallow template anyone could generate. Orchestrator approach: deconstruct the goal into phases. Use AI for market research, competitive analysis, and draft messaging. Inject your judgment at each decision point. Which market segment to target? What tone resonates? Which risks matter? Iterate through multiple drafts. Result: a launch plan grounded in specific insight, formed by your strategic judgment. The difference isn't technical skill, it is a mindset.